I am ChosenArchitect, and this is All the Mods 10. Now, last episode, we started off the productive bees and started working on upgrades for productive bees, but this leads to a very particular problem. Well, to go any further and be able to make the max tier upgrades, we're going to need Unobtainium. Believe it or not though, Unobtainium is quite obtainable, and today we are going to be getting that nice and completed. But this journey is not going to be easy. No. This has actually required a lot of preparation prior to all of today's episode to get this done as seamless as possible. See, there is a dimension that we've already gone to called the Other. And this said dimension contains, well, some trials that we are going to have to get through in order to be able to get a template for the Unobtainium stuff. Now, to be able to just locate Unobtainium, we can probably already do that, and we should be able to also break the Unobtainium by simply making a vibranium pickaxe. And well, the Unobtainium is basically in the End Highlands, so that's pretty straightforward. But what the problem is actually getting that smithing template for the Unobtainium, and that's where trouble arises. See, the All the Mods team has sort of gone out of their way to make the Other dimension and getting that template very, very challenging, especially if you did not prep for this. Basically allowing them to postpone you going there if you're not prepared. And you know what? Honestly, good on them for trying. Because you see, I'm not just your average wizard. No. I have discovered the arts of true invisibility. And I have also mastered the arts of seeing through walls. See, up to this point, you may have been wondering, why have you gone after things like the essence of knowing? And or why have you dabbled a little bit with the scries from Rs or even gotten into Rs in general? Well, today, you're going to find out how all of this magic can come together to make a seamless experience in the Other dimension structures. So now getting to the Other dimension, which is where I'm currently at, remember you place the teleport pad that you used all the modium to craft, and you just place it in the Nether, and this will take you to the Other. Now, the Other has a few secrets that we have not explored yet, and that is going to involve us locating a couple of structures. So if we search at all the mods, we now can see we have an ancient pyramid, we have a dungeon, and there's also the Piglin Village, which we've already explored, the Piglin Village. Now, to just kind of spoil some things, the pyramid is kind of like the vanilla pyramid, and this is actually where you'll find a Piglich mini-boss. And the Piglich mini-boss is something we're going to have to do in the future. Today, though, I am solely focused on getting that template. So if we go back to all the mods, we are actually looking for the dungeon, and boy, is this a dungeon. And thankfully, there's one not too far away, but we're going to notice a few things. The biomes change in this dimension, and we'll have things like blaze that spawn. There's going to be all kinds of nether-based stuff that spawns. Man, I remember back in all the mod 6, there used to be dragons in this dimension. This has really come a long ways, and I love that the fact that every single All the Mods pack has a different assortment of mods, and they usually incorporate those different assortments of mods into this dimension in different ways. For example, All the Mods 9, you couldn't fly in this dimension, and that might still come back in the future. So if you're watching this video in the future, well, you may not be able to fly in this dimension. In that case, I would suggest maybe an Iron Spells horse, or I don't know, some other form of flight. Potentially, you might be able to, for example, use an Eclipse wand to be able to dash around mid-air. Like, that's another thing you can do, and you can just simply get around that way, or even use an Rs dash. You know, that could also work. But I tell you what, this is going to be an experience, and if you're not prepared with any of the things that I have mentioned prior, this is going to be quite a troubling place for you. By the way, this is the pyramid. I love how we just happened to stumble upon the pyramid. We'll come back to this. I'm not going to be doing this just yet, but that's the Piglich right there. Nasty fella. Now, some things I do want to mention about this dimension is, well, quarries don't work from what I remember. So you may not be able to use a quarry in this place. Aha, now that is what I'm looking for. This is the place. Now, making my way into here, I will most certainly die. because I am unprepared at the moment. I do not have my true invisibility, and really, we're just rocking some protection 3. We barely have any protection at all. But I do want to go ahead and get this placed down in here, probably outside, and this is where we're going to have the other dungeon. Perfect. Okay, so we now are at the dungeon, and why it's so dangerous is because of all the mobs that spawn in here. There's a lot of mobs, and they will take you out quickly. And I don't know if, like, with our regeneration, if we'll be able to withstand these alone. We might be able to with our potion effects. You know, this gear does a good job, but notice, by the way, we do take damage. Like, magic damage is very dangerous to us, so the witches can deal a lot of pain. Oh, something also I want to mention. There used to be, which if you've already gone through this, there used to be like a mod in here that made these guys a lot harder, where they had potion effects all over them. That mod has actually been removed in this particular version, as Apotheosis is now fully in here, meaning there are Apotheosis bosses. Now, with our spells, this shouldn't be too big of a deal, as we can basically spam this, but I think there's a way we can get through here passively. Like, I know, right? Who thought I would be going through here with a passive build? And I'm really going to need this because the middle of this building is actually where all of the magic happens. It's actually underground. This up top part is just simply a facade. Now, taking a look at our quest book, this is actually what we're looking for. So this room right here. And oddly enough, they kind of give it away. Like, they give away what we could use to locate this specific room. And if you missed it, you missed it. But let me go ahead and show you one more time. What is in here that is something that we can definitely find pretty commonly and could potentially use on a scry to be able to locate these structures in this particular room? That's right, the lecterns. So hear me out, I am cooking something up. What we could do is we could use a scry to quickly locate this room, in which we then need to take on a trial spawner. Now, the trial spawner should be quite simple for us, right? Simply because we are going to be invisible, meaning they're not really going to bother us too much. So getting down there actually shouldn't be a problem, because underneath here is loaded to the brim with spawners. And this is where iron spells will come into play. If you haven't already made yourself an infusion pylon, I have infused one of the potion filters with true invisibility a few episodes ago. Now, you can actually just use the invisibility spell if you are using an irons build, and it will give you several minutes that you can constantly respam over and over to give yourself true invisibility, which is, I would definitely recommend for this area. But in this case, we just get true invisibility and we're completely gone now. And that means in this area, we will also have that effect and mobs will not bother us. Now, I know I'm invisible, but promise you I am here. Another powerful tool was also the Essence of Knowing, which gives us ESP, allowing us to see every chest and everything underground, and all of the mobs through the walls. We can also see like all kinds of spawners. Like, if this is what I think it is, they're like silverfish eggs. I could be wrong, but all of these are simply chests that are the brown ones. You can kind of see them kind of sprawled about. But I don't think this is going to be 100% necessary and might honestly get in the way. What's really going to help is this. So to be able to locate this structure, we can place a brazier down, we can use a tablet of scrying on here, and we can hit it with a lectern. That is what it's going to be looking for when we run this scry ritual, and then we can make this last 15 minutes by hitting it with a manipulation essence. When this is consumed, this should allow us to locate the exact room where we can take on this mob. I am so excited for this, and I have been prepping all of these episodes specifically for this moment, making this whole process much, much simpler. So at the moment, I do not see it anywhere nearby, but notice the creeper? I can just walk right past the creeper. I'm walking right past the witch. I'm walking right past everything. But right down here is where we need to go. And by the way, I cannot really break these ancient stone bricks. I think you have to have like Unobtainium to be able to really do that. But there we go. I should be able to get all the way down here with none of these mobs bothering me. Just imagine this without having any kind of invisibility. And keep in mind, this isn't just because of pylons. This is because of iron spells. And so if you run an iron spells build, you can easily get down here and take these guys out. Notice all of the evokers too. This place is a absolute madhouse, and is why I actually was going to make those totems before realizing I can just use invisibility. So now for the fun part, kind of wandering around until my scry locates something, as we do appear to be potentially too far away for our scry to really recognize anything. But this place is just filled to the brim with layers. By the way, there's all kinds of good gear that we can find, and we can also loot these for tons of enchants. I do want to come back later on, but I am on a mission with 15 minutes that is slowly dwindling down. You know, I just want to say, tell me this isn't powerful without telling me this isn't powerful. Let me know down in the comments below. What's your opinions on getting through this? It looks like it might make this a bit more boring, but I swear, this dimension was made intentionally like this to punish you for coming here. Oh, and by the way, if you try to access this from like the top, you will not be able to break into these blocks. If I didn't mention, these really can't be broken. I don't even believe this with any amplify will let you break these blocks. Now, there might be a chance that I don't actually find a library in this structure. As of right now, I don't have any indications of it yet. Whew, and it's also so loud. Just had to lower down the Vindicator and Evoker's nurse. Now, you may also be wondering, does the Dyer's tool actually allow you to pass through walls? Yeah, this actually doesn't work here either. I don't know if this will help any, but I do know the scry can show you if a block exists while on the surface. It'll just kind of point you down. And so I'm kind of walking around. Ooh, and here we go. Okay, so it might be better to locate it from the surface like this. This is the room right here. But like I said, getting into the room can be an actual problem. So, oh, I guess not, because the roof is made of wood. Oh, well, I mean, that was a thing. Okay, so we need to kill the evoker here that just spawned. This is a trial spawner. So there we go. And we have to get through this trial, which, by the way, should be rather easy for us because of this. Okay, so these guys gotta go. We gotta make sure to not lose this guy. I don't think these count. There we go. The evoker down. Oh, goodness. And there we go. And it spawned. Perfect. And we got ourselves the Unobtainium smithing template. And this is how you can get it. Oh, man. That actually made that so much easier than I was honestly expecting. And like I said, this place... I know I'm invisible. This place can be such a pain, but all of our prepping up to this point has led us to this very challenge being so much easier. I've done this, by the way, several times. In my All the Mods 9 playthrough, this was probably one of the hardest places to get through, and I expect this to potentially be used in maybe some speedruns by people in the future. Hopefully they'll take this inspiration and use it in their own world. Oh man, look at all this loot we're gonna have to come back to and grab. Like, all of this armor has so many good enchants. I can't wait to get the Apotheosis enchanting up and running, so that way we can make the most out of all of our upgraded gear. I mean, just honestly, the amount of time I just saved myself from future me, I'm just patting future me on the back. Like, that was so worth having that true invisibility and also the knowledge of the scry. By the way, I should pop back into existence here shortly. But now we have the Unobtainium smithing template, and oh boy, is this going to be really nice. Okay, so now we just need to simply locate, well, some, not vibranium, because we have tons of that. We just need to simply locate some Unobtainium, and that, my friends, can be kind of challenging. But there is a spell we could potentially try that I think could help us locate this much, much easier. That, my friends, will be through the use of a new spell. This is going to give us the glyph of Linger. And Linger is kind of powerful when it comes to the spells it can be combined with. Basically, it creates a Linger potion in the area that you define, making the AoE larger or what have you. And then you can also have that Linger apply effect spells. For example, you can have it apply Break in that AoE, essentially expanding the AoE of Break and you can make this quite large. Well, that is, of course, if you allow the linger spell to interact with blocks, in which it can. Now, how is this spell going to help me? Well, let's go ahead and set this up. If we do a projectile and then linger, we can actually modify linger to affect blocks by giving it sensitive. So it tells you right here when you hold shift what can happen. Now, by default, this actually has gravity. So if it attaches to blocks and those blocks get broken, it will drop down for its duration. And we can extend this linger to go quite far. And if I, for example, just cast this as it is, we can see the range of this linger effect. And it just dispels, shortly after. But this is where we can modify this, right? And we can give it break. And so we can tell what the linger is going to actually use. For example, in this case, we can have it do the break spell. Now, this is where I want to make my way to the end. That way I feel more comfortable destroying this area. So let's try this. I just have a little bit of a spell created here, and let's try this linger break. And you notice it will break. Pretty cool, right? And so what if we give AoE to our break spell? Does that make it even better? Well, I guess we'll have to find out, right? Yes, our break does appear to be breaking more blocks. This one does a 3x3, but we do have more spell slots, which is kind of what makes this really, really crazy. And so now, let's see, roughly in the same spot, does it work? Yes. So our spell can now break blocks and cover a whole size area quite quickly. We can also do some extend time as well to make this last longer. So you are seeing this correct. A spell that uses very little source right here, effectively clearing out a hole in a very, very large area. So now that we have this, we can search for this a little bit easier. Of course, Vein Miner also works. We do have a lot of ways of using that too. But you can see right here, you can find Unobtainium ore very rarely in the End Highlands biome. And this is where we actually need to start looking for this stuff. So we can go ahead and search for End Highlands inside of our biome compass, select it, and then start. And look at there, we're actually like right on it apparently. It's probably best to have your mini-map up and have it displaying what current biome you're in. This whole area right here is technically End Highlands. And just like all of the other ores, thankfully, once we find our first one, things get so much easier on us. But it's that finding that first one that can be an absolute pain. Now, don't get me wrong, a builder could definitely do this and you can have that builder clear out. We definitely have enough to be able to have a builder clear this out, but looky right there. Like, this didn't take any time at all. And just from having this like massive chunk size hole cleared out using this spell, oh man, we've already managed to find some right there. Oh, and apparently right there as well. Now, just like last time, I'm going to go ahead and upgrade my pickaxe just to get my first piece. And we'll use our vibranium template and upgrade to the vibranium pickaxe. So now I can get my first piece, which should allow me, by the way, to upgrade my spell book. This is going to allow me to, well, make the break spell that can break this and grant fortune. It's going to be very, very nice. So make sure my magnet's on. And this will be our first piece of Unobtainium. Oh boy, things are really ramping up now. And just like everything else, yes, we can duplicate it just like before. So first things first, get our spell book upgraded. This is going to require that template, and there we go, an Unobtainium spellbook, allowing us to now have 20 spell slots. Oh, I'm like super stoked for that, making this spell that we just made even more powerful. So now back to the break spell, and then I'm almost positive we're just going to have like either 4 or 5 amplifies. We'll have to come back to this and try to figure it out. But yeah, we definitely just want maxed out luck, just like that, and then definitely an item pickup. And that should be basically everything, right? I do have to save it though. And my guess is going to be 5 amplifies. I'm assuming we're going to have level 5 amplify to be able to break this and fortunate and pick it up. So let's try. And it was. So notice, by the way, we ended up getting 2 there. Oh, this is so good. And it's going to make getting this stuff so much easier. Now back to the hole. Let's go ahead and make this whole spell. I just added all of this. I still have some extend times. I could probably replace some extend times for those AoEs, but the AoE, with just having that break, is just ridiculous. So this was the original size hole right here. And now we'll be able to see, using this new spell book, how much bigger this hole can be. Oh my goodness. Okay, so it does feel like, by the way, it is a little higher on the surface. Like I did clear out this whole area, but yeah, like these two were right here and they are a little bit closer to the surface, which actually works out because what I can do is I can just go around and I can just keep firing these and it's just going to clear out that nice surface level, like just enough. Oh my goodness, the lag. And I mean, at this point I could technically make, I can make a potion that allows me to just find these super easy, but this is just so much fun. So now that I'm back, we have everything needed to make the max tier upgrade. Well, almost everything needed for the max tier upgrades, because we still technically need to take on the warden. But before I go do that, and before I go make a warden card and get those producing, what we need to do is upgrade our gear to the final tier. That's right, we will have the maxed out version of our all the mods gear set. So let's make this happen. There we go. There is the Unobtainium helmet, and this switches our gear basically into the base color almost. All of our gear is upgraded. By the way, this makes every single thread slot a tier 3 thread slot. Oh, that is going to be just absurd. And look at this. Now, something you guys mentioned, I could technically put on a base set inside my cosmetic slot, and then I could just have this be whatever color I want. But this is actually a really, really nice looking gear set, I will say. And also something to mention, Apotheosis is now in here, which means that a lot of these stats can actually be modified and adjusted, and we can reforge this stuff later on whenever we get Godforged pearls, now that Apotheosis is fully updated. Because we still have some bosses to completely shred in other dimensions. Like, we are not done exploring. But man, oh man, look at that. 450 max mana on each of our individual pieces. And we don't even have the thread on here. Oh, we do. That gives us magic capacity. This should give us more mana. But my goodness, like this is just pure ridiculousness, and I love every minute of it. Because that's always been one thing that just bugged me. You couldn't get like super overpowered with ours because you were always limited by how much mana you had on you, making those spells that you really wanted to craft just not possible. And also the limitation on the spell slots. This honestly should just be its own add-on mod, like on its own outside of all the modium. It is just so good. I'll tell you what, this is one of my biggest draws to this particular mod pack, is because of all these cool things that allow you to expand upon the mods that already exist. Things that can kind of get old and boring at over time. This really brings a fresh breath of air into it. So now it's time to really put this to the test. For example, we can make a spell that deals damage. So right here, we have an insanely powerful spell that deals harm consistently 7 times on a hit. So if I test it here, this is going to deal the damage of harm and should stay consistently dealing that damage, right? It should on a normal mob. I mean, the best thing to test it on would definitely be a warden. I've got to get a warden to spawn anyways, because we are going to need it for our model framework. So that way we can get ourselves some skulk. No, not skulk, echo shards. That's right. And there's the big man himself. Okay, so right clicking the model. There we go. We have it contained. Place that in there. Let's try that hurt spell. Oh, interesting. So I might need delays. Oh, that's right. I'm gonna have to build delays in between. But still, this spell is incredibly powerful. It is 100% going to take it out. Okay, let's change this spell up a bit. So this new spell, we're going to be definitely harming 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times. So it'll be a consecutive 5 times. And the way I'm doing this is by putting a delay between the harm. So let's get back in here and let's try this again. We have to kill this guy quite a few times, right? But this one spell, like we should be able to just kind of right click and like forget it, right? It should just consistently tick damage the warden. This is going to be powerful, right? So there goes. Yeah. It's just tick damaging the warden. Should do it 5 times. That is absurd. I only had to technically shoot it twice. So there we go. Perfect. I have a bunch of hearts in my inventory. We'll use these hearts later on, by the way. We'll go into another dimension. But there we go. We now have up to basic and we let this bad boy run, costing us 2,560 FE per tick. Oh, that's the painful part. It's going to be so worth it though when we get our bees up and running. Now, as all things should be, these need to be kind of symmetrical. So I'm going to place another simulation chamber over here and just grab a gate. I don't think we have to have a high powered one. Just need to make sure it can accept over the 2000 that's going to be needed for this. And then bam, we will have ourselves a warden ready to go. So I just need to place my exporter just like the other side directly on top, get my crafting card in there, and then tell it to craft the prediction matrices. And there it goes. So now that this is in here, this will start producing. And the cool part about the way we set up our modular router system for this, all I have to do is link my distributor module that pulls, right? Remember, this pulls and then this sends. Thankfully, we don't have to mess with the sending one. We just need to grab the pull one, and I'm just going to link it to the bottom. It may be able to pull from any side, but just to be, sure, I'm going to place it here, and there we go. So I think, oh, did I put that in there? I think if I middle clicked it while hovering over that item, it actually just threw it back in my applied logistics system. There it goes. So now that will pull all of these items, or should pull all of these items. Yep, just like that. Right out and store them the same way we have it set up. Wow, symmetry is a beautiful thing. So now I just need to select, for example, the echo shards. And there we go. We're going to get 2 echo shards per. We could also even use like the sculpt catalyst. Ooh, that'd be kind of cool later on. But once you define it in this loot fabricator, it's going to stay this way in this loot fabricator. Just something to note. And by the way, eventually we'll have to upgrade whenever we start adding more things into here. This is only going to work with so many things. Yeah, you can only handle so many predictions before it starts to overflow, and that's when we're going to definitely need to upgrade, but that's down the line. But I thankfully built it with that in mind. You got to keep these things in mind when you build them. Like, what is it going to look like in the future when I start to scale up? So you don't have to constantly repeat builds every time you need to extend. And this ideology, by the way, comes with time. The longer you play modded Minecraft, the more you'll realize these little helpful tips, and it'll just make your gameplay experience throughout every mod pack you play a whole lot easier. And so the reason for all of today's episode was to be able to upgrade and get ourselves this upgrade right here, the Productivity Omega, which, by the way, required that Unobtainium, but also has several other steps that go even deeper than that. For example, the echo shards, and so on and so forth, and nether stars, which we got set up last episode. This is the pinnacle, and of course, the first things we need to get running to be able to make more of these upgrades in the future is going to be this right here, these draconic chunks, which are required in here. But we are also going to need an upgraded heated centrifuge, and this requires a very specific egg, which is the inactive dragon egg. So we have to have this too, and we're going to change out our centrifuge here for that centrifuge. Thankfully though, I think our SFM keeps all of that information, so the position of it shouldn't really matter. And let's go ahead and make our first Productivity Omega upgrade. Oh boy. This is a lot of crafting steps. Look how many combs we need. And it is going to take a little bit of time simply for the essence crafting. But yeah, outside of that, there we go. Like, we could definitely manually collect all of these ingredients, but I think for right now, this is going to be the way to go. And while this is working, let's grab our labeler so we can actually see. This says centrifuge, and if we break this, like, nothing should change. It still says centrifuge, so we can just replace it to the heated version. The reason we need the heated is because this is the only way we can process the full-size comb blocks, which is what this upgrade will then allow our beehive to actually produce. And we have to have the heated version to process full blocks. So there we go. We now have that set up and a little bit of power, and the combs will still work, but we're about to upgrade these slowly but surely. And the cool part about these max upgrades is you no longer need a simulator upgrade slot. We could put this in place of the simulator and it will work. Fantastic. Now with our first upgrade, we can upgrade our first hive. I'm going to place this in, move this down, and then that way I can move this up, then pull the simulator upgrade out. And so now we have one in the top, and this is going to produce blocks. So now if I tick accelerate this, you can see it's producing blocks at a time, which is 4 times the output that we were receiving before. And you can see accelerating this with our time wand, really starts to show how much faster we can actually generate this stuff. And this, my friends, is truly what makes productive bees absolutely viable in the future. So I hope you enjoyed today's episode, and hopefully, well, you learned something new, whether that was about how to get the Unobtainium template or how to, for example, create some awesome spells to help you find that Unobtainium. Guys, I hope you enjoyed today's episode, and like I said, if you did, click that subscribe button if you're looking forward to more episodes just like this, and give this video a huge thumbs up. Also, comment down below, how hard was it for you to go through the other dimension and through that dungeon? I would love to hear from you down in the comments below. With that being said, it's now time to thank the amazing supporter of today's episode. And that amazing thanks is going to go out to Marshmallow. Thank you so much for your amazing support and choosing to support me over on the Discord by becoming a Discord premium member and supporting in one of the best ways possible. Guys, I look forward to seeing you in the next one. And as always, thanks for watching.